Welcome back to Piers Morgan Uncensored. The British government has rejected claims that Sinn Féin's election victory in Northern Ireland could lead to the breakup of the UK, despite the party's push for a referendum on a united Ireland. Well, Prime Minister Boris Johnson is now threatening to tear up post-Brexit trading arrangements with the EU, despite warnings from American President Biden that it could undermine the Good Friday Agreement. So are we edging ever closer to a united Ireland and a disunited United Kingdom? I'm joined by someone who I'm sure will have a strong view about this, the former Irish Prime Minister and one of the founding fathers of the Good Friday Agreement, Bertie Ahern. Mr. Ahern, thank you so much for joining me.
How are you doing, Piers?
Very well. I've got to say, I'm sort of twitchy about what is going on politically with the United Kingdom, with Ireland, with all of it, actually. And I've been like this since Brexit and we severed our way from the European Union. It feels like a lot of things are being splintered. Do you think we're going to see a united Ireland looming, or certainly a referendum on it, in the next few years? And if we do, could this signal the beginning of the end of the UK?
Well, I think there are a number of problems at the moment. Piers said the elections last week were fairly good. I mean, there were peaceful elections. Most of the political debate was on bread and butter economic issues. Except maybe for one party. The protocol was pushed a fair lot, but there wasn't much about the border poll or a united Ireland, a new Ireland, shared Ireland, with the different names people put on it. So it wasn't a big issue in the election. I suppose it is in the Good Friday Agreement that from time to time there can be a referendum. My view is that until the preparatory work is done of how it would look, what it would cost, how it would evolve, that it's not a good idea to have it. And I think most people are of that view. So there will be a vote at some stage, but it's early stages before the work is done. But unfortunately, that has moved away from the issue a little bit. What's happened now is that Brexit is back into the game again. And the Northern Ireland Protocol, which was part of the withdrawal agreement that Prime Minister Boris used to say Brexit was done, that now the British government, through the Attorney General, through various ministers, are saying that they might unilaterally bring in legislation to amend that. That has created, I think, great friction on the whole island of Ireland. The government here are really upset about it. I think our American colleagues are very upset about it. President Biden is, but
well, it's a betrayal.
For whatever reason,
it's a betrayal of the agreement. And the bottom line with all this is that when Brexit was getting done, as Boris Johnson kept telling us, nobody had worked out what to do about the border situation. And that has never been properly resolved, and that's why he's trying to reopen it now, because he knows he didn't have a plan for it, and it's not worked in any way that suits anybody. And that seems to me the fundamental problem right from the start. They never sorted this before, during or after Brexit.
Well, we're still, I think, Piers, that even after Brexit, when the debate took place on the withdrawal agreement, and not to make sure we'd no land border on the island of Ireland, Boris Johnson negotiated with the Irish government and with the European Union that protocol. And within a few months of him negotiating it, he said that he didn't like it and it was a bad idea. But he was the one who negotiated it. But
right.
I think what I'd like to say, Piers, is that this thing is negotiated and sorted out in an amicable way. If the British government go down the road of arbitrarily breaking with the protocol, there will be a response from Europe. They will probably start looking at sections of the trade deal, and it'll just make a total mess of everything, rather than have a negotiated settlement. And several ministers in the last 24 hours, secretaries of state, including the Attorney General, seem to be indicating, they're not saying it definitively, but they seem to be indicating that the British government are prepared to unilaterally change the protocol without consultation with the Irish government or Europe, and that would just be an absolute mess.
I think it would be a complete fiasco and another betrayal of what was agreed. I don't know if you're a betting man, Mr. Ahern, but if you were a betting man or a soothsayer, whatever you want to put it, Nostradamus for a moment, just go forward 20 years, how feasible could it be that there's by then a united Ireland, that Scotland has gone independent, that the UK basically is left with England and Wales. I mean, is that something which actually right now could be a realistic situation in 20 years' time?
In 20 years' time, I think it could be. I think Scotland will come up first again, particularly if Scottish Nationalist Party go in with Labour after the next election, if they were to have enough of seats to form a government. That's a big if, but it is a possibility. There will be, in that timescale, hopefully the work will be completed and there will be a border poll. It'll be up to the people what they decide. I think, you know, from my point of view, it should be on the basis of consent and agreement. The one thing we don't need on the island of Ireland is to go back into the troubled days. So it'll be the ability of the politicians over the next 20 years to see if they can both do the preparatory work and be able to negotiate and be able to satisfy most of the unionists. I don't think you'll ever get everybody on board, and nobody probably should expect that, but it will be a challenge. But
right.
I think what's more difficult, Piers, is if we can't resolve even the protocol, how will we ever resolve the bigger issues that are down the road? And this is really, and the protocol, by the way, I should say for your viewers, is really what was brought in, negotiated between Europe and Boris Johnson to avoid a land border in Ireland, so that we could, Northern Ireland would stay in the single market, and be able to get investment, be able to get jobs.
And if he now rips it up, frankly, it's another breach of trust, and that's the problem. And I think that in its way, I think the way Boris Johnson is going about this is going to break trust so badly. I think it makes it more, not less likely, that the UK ultimately fractures, because why would anyone trust him? I've got to leave it there, I'm afraid. Bertie Ahern, brilliant to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on Piers Morgan Uncensored. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Piers. Thank you.